call this meeting of the Person County Board of County Commissioners to order. If I could get Commissioner Powell to do our invocation, please.
Pray with me if you so desire, please. And as we do so, let's please have a moment of silence for the passing of former President George H.W. Bush. Moment of silence. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be in here tonight. Thank you for the health, strength, and opportunity to serve the people of Person County and the freedoms that we have to do so. Pray for those who are in harm's way in other parts of the world today, fighting for our rights and our freedoms that we enjoy here today. We pray your wisdom and your guidance in all decisions made here tonight, that it might be in the best interest of Person County. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Maybe we get Commissioner Pergier to do our pledge.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1 on the agenda is approval of the minutes from November the 19th, 2018. Could I get a proposal to approve the minutes from that meeting?
So moved.
Got a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And also in item number 1, I didn't know this was happening, but thank you. Vice Chairman Powell.
Okay. I proceed.
Yes, you may proceed.
Well, as you know, all of you know, Chairman Kendrick is rotating off the Board of County Commissioners, and I do have a plaque here in recognition of his service to Person County. And at the same time, I would like to say that in the past 2 years with me, Tracy's always been there. He returns calls, whether he wants to or not, whether he likes it or not. He does carry on the business of the county and the citizens of the county without respect to, sometimes even when he's on the job. And I really found that to be of interest. Didn't know how that would be once I started working with him 2 years ago, but he's been very engaged in the county and always responsive to people's calls. And as I said, primarily I'm speaking for myself, but his calls didn't go unanswered. His texts or emails didn't go unanswered, and I, for one, appreciate that. I don't know if there are other board members who would like to comment, or anyone.
Just appreciate your service. I've told someone before, I said, you might not agree with him politically, but as far as a friend, as far as someone that truly cares, I think, about Person County and the job that you held and you did, we thank you.
Appreciate your service. You always told it like you thought it was, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Well, Tracy, I ran with you in 2014, and I was, you've not only been a good leader, but you've been a good friend over the past 4 years, and you've always shot me straight. When I walked into this boardroom, I knew where you stood. Whether I liked it or not, I knew what you were going to do. And you were always up front with any citizen that sent an email to the county commissioners. You were the first one to reply, and you are the example of true transparency in local government. And I wish you the very best, and thank you so much for your service. Some people don't realize how tough it is to be a county commissioner until you're up here sitting, and you, I think all of us at one point learned how tough it can be sometimes, but thank you, and I'm very grateful for your service to this county.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate all the kind words. I want to first thank the voters who put me into this position, and, you know, following that, the taxpayers who allowed me to continue to serve and move forward in this position. I never thought that when I took a commissioner role that I would end up chairman. And working for the county, I've learned a whole lot. I have enjoyed every aspect of it. I've enjoyed every email, phone call, text, the staff that continues to support and continues to work with me. And I hope that the people of Person County will continue to look at things that go on in this county, make sure that we watch what our elected officials are doing, make sure that you hold them accountable for the things that go on. And I know we have a good board. I've worked with all four of these guys up here, and they'll continue to do things. We have a newly elected person that'll be coming up here, and I'm sure he'll do good things for the county. He has in the past shown his passion for Person County, his leadership ability to make sure that things that are moved forward in Person County will continue to be moved forward in Person County. I want to finish by saying that I have never worked with another staff that is as competent and knowledgeable as the staff here in Person County. And I can't speak for other counties because I've never worked for another county, but anytime I've ever had a question, there's been an answer. Anytime I've ever had to ask for assistance, there's always been assistance. Ron Aycock, you've been very instrumental in helping me, and I thank you for that. So thank you, and we appreciate it.
Any other comments? Anyone?
I would love
Manager?
to say that
Sure.
despite Chairman Kendrick campaigning that maybe we needed a change in the manager, I'm happy that we were able to bury that and have a fresh start. We had a great working relationship, and I would say that Tracy has always been a man of his word. And when you're working with elected officials, that means a whole heck of a lot. So thank you so
Okay.
much for that.
Okay, before we go further with comments, I do have a plaque for you to hang on your wall. It's a small token of appreciation.
I love me wall.
That's right. You got your own Love Me wall, but we do want to give you this. And this plaque does read, presented to Tracy L. Kendrick in appreciation of 4 years of service to the citizens of Person County. Person County is on there twice. Person County Board of Commissioners, December 1st, 2014 to December the 3rd, 2018. Chairman of the Person County Board of Commissioners, December 5th, 2016 through December 3rd, 2018, and presented on this or on December 3rd, 2018. So a small token of appreciation.
Thank you. That means a lot.
So I guess the meeting is in
At this
on.
time, I get to step down and hand the gavel over to our county attorney, Ron Aycock. And I remember this from 4 years ago and thinking, why do we need a lawyer to do this? But we do. So in anything in the United States, there's always a peaceful transition of power. And this is part of that peaceful transition of power. So no matter who gets up here and who does these elected roles, we always in the United States have a peaceful transition of power, no matter who gets elected. And that's a big thing, because you look around the United States, you look around the world, and we are always the shining beacon. So thank you, Ron, for presiding over this. And at this time, I'll hand the gavel over to you. I'm going to take a back seat. I've took up enough of you guys' time for 4 years, and I appreciate everything that you guys have done for me, staff and county commissioners. Thank you. Ron.
as the chair leaves, I will say I have been privileged to work with this man and realize this is one man who is always absolutely prepared. He comes having done his homework, done his analysis, and ready to make decisions for the county. We'll miss you, Tracy, but I guess what I get to do is be the transition between the transition you spoke to. It's the tradition in this county that the county attorney presides during that transition. And in order to do that, we have to move toward transition. And we're honored to have with us tonight, yet again, the newly elected clerk of court, the Honorable Deborah Barker, to do the swearing in for us. So, Madam Clerk, if you will come and be prepared, we will introduce people to you.
All right, sir.
We want to swear in the newly elected commissioners individually, because there may be some family members who want to go up with the newly elected commissioners. So first of all, in alphabetical order, David Newell. Please come up to be sworn in, Mr. Newell, and bring with you any family member you desire.
Do you, David Newell Sr., solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God?
I do.
And do you, David Newell Sr., further solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do.
And David Newell Sr., do you further swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office of County Commissioner according to the best of your skill and ability according to law, so help you God?
I will.
Congratulations, sir. I'll get you here, I'll get you to sign for me. Those 2 copies.
Congratulations, Mr. Newell. If you desire, you are now a commissioner, and you may take the vacant chair up here. Mr. Puryear, you're about not to be a commissioner and then about to be a commissioner again, so will you come down, please?
Go ahead, David.
And take with you whomever you would like to from your family.
Pleasure.
All right, place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. Do you, Kyle W. Pereira, solemnly swear that you'll support the Constitution of the United States, so help you God?
I do.
And do you, Kyle W. Pereira, further solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do.
And do you, Kyle W. Pereira, further swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office of County Commissioner according to the best of your skill and ability, according to law, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Now we would ask the newly elected Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisors to come up as a group. Mr. Cal Berryhill, Mr. Russell Horton, and Mr. Bruce Whitfield.
Russell, we're gonna get you to hold the Bible with your left hand. How about that? I'll place your right, excuse me, left on the Bible, raise your right. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna swear all three of you in at one time. Do you, Eugene C. Berryhill Jr., Russell G. Horton, and Bruce R. Whitfield solemnly swear that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as Person, Soil, and Water Conservation District Supervisor, so help you God.
I do.
And do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
I do.
Right. And do you solemnly swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office of Person, County, Soil, and Water Conservation District Supervisor according to the best of your skill and ability, according to law, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. All right, Jeff, I'm gonna have you sign. Bruce, that's you. Russell's in the middle. Cal, you right there. Just-
Right here.
Sorry. Yeah. Mhm. And I think there are two copies of that as well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And congratulations to all of you newly elected officials, including the clerk of court, whom we thank for her service here tonight.
Thank you.
One of those duties that Tracy wonders why the attorney has to do is somebody's got to get the chair elected. So, the next order of business for this board is to elect the chair, and following that, we will elect the vice chair. So, do I hear a nomination for the office of chair of the Board of County Commissioners?
Mr. Attorney.
I heard Mr. Clayton first, so I will recognize Mr. Clayton.
Nominate David Newell.
All right. Are there other nominations? If there are no other nominations, do I hear a motion to close the nominations and elect Mr. Newell as chair by acclamation?
So moved.
All those in favor of electing Mr. Newell as chair of the board by acclamation, please do so by raising your hand. Congratulations, Mr. Newell. I am also now privileged to conduct the election for vice chair. Do I hear a nomination for the office of vice chair?
Mr. Attorney, I nominate Ray Jeffers.
Mr. Jeffers has been nominated. Are there other nominations?
Nominate Gordon Powell.
Mr. Powell has been nominated. Are there other nominations? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
All those in favor of closing the nominations, please indicate by raising your hand. Nominations are closed. We have Mr. Jeffers and Mr. Powell nominated. We'll do it in reverse order. Mr. Powell was the last one, so all those in favor of Mr. Powell, please raise your hand. All those in favor of Mr. Jeffers, please raise your hand. The election is over and Mr. Jeffers is the vice chairman of the board. Yay! Yay! All right, there's one more order of business that I have, Mr. Chairman, and that is to ask you to consider approval of the necessary bonds for the sheriff, the register of deeds, the finance officer, and the tax administrator. These bonds are required by state law in order to assure that these officials will carry out their duties. The head of human resources is also our insurance administrator, and it really is a continuation of their existing bonds, but you are required to approve them. The bonds for the sheriff is in the amount of $25,000. The register of deeds, $50,000, and $100,000 each for the tax administrator and the finance director. So, I should ask, are there any questions about this issue?
Can we approve the bonds together?
You may approve them all with one motion if that is your desire. Do I hear a motion to approve all of these bonds?
Move for approval.
Discussion? Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the bonds mentioned by the county attorney, please indicate by raising your hand. The necessary legally required bonds are approved, and, Mr. Chairman, I understand the next order of business is declare a recess until 7 o'clock. Okay, so give people a chance to move around.
You want to take? Yes, you can take
I don't know if I can do that or not.
Tracy, I enjoyed serving with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, man. I'm gonna miss you.
What do we get?
Good for you. Thank you.
There's your sign.
Yes, sir. Is that what I'm doing? Just move the, red. Protocol? Hey, hi. I was thinking about moving in first.
I thought about that, except that these folks were traveling from Charlotte area.
And we have an advertised public hearing, we definitely need to have a public hearing go first. Which that will.
I thought of that, trying to get you out.
Public hearing.
I can go back and write a letter to them
Okay, congratulations.
You know, we made five.
Joy did not.
Everybody okay with the agenda? Any additions or adjustments?
Move for approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we need to open a public hearing to request to add 6 roads named on, to the database of roadway names used by 911. Have a motion to go open the public hearing.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, public hearing is now open. Sally Vaughn, if you could.
Good evening. The developer of a proposed RV park has provided names for each of the roads within the development. The roads are going to be Country Inn RV Park Road, Tobacco Field Loop, Short Rose Run, Long Rose Run, Pack House Run, and Stick Barn Court. There might be a theme. The names are compliant with our address ordinance, and as you know, this does require a public hearing, and general statute also requires that public hearing. Just for background, this is the RV park that will be located off of Boston Road in Woodsdale Township. And that's all I have.
All right, any discussion? Any questions for Sally?
Motion to come out of public hearing.
Motion on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're back in general session. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody sign up for?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Our former chairman, Tracy Kendrick, has signed up to make informed comments this evening.
Okay.
Hey, Tracy Kendrick, 717 Country Club Road, Roxborough, North Carolina, 27574. Don't want to make this about me. I want to make it about the county. There are things that are going on in this county that are great. We have just got Pollywood on board. They are in the process of hiring a lot of people and putting them in place. It's going to provide economic development. I know we got the report this week that we have turned into a Tier 2 community, and I know that some of the old accounting is not the same as the new accounting, so it could be a blessing or it could be a curse. So I want to challenge all of my county commissioners to make sure that we continue to move forward in the improvement of Person County. Being a member of the board has allowed me in the past to hear conversations and make sure that there are things going on in our county that some other people within the county may not have heard. I continue to ask that you do the things for the Person County taxpayers that they pay you to do. I would ask that you continue to take the best interest of the Person County taxpayers at heart. I would also ask that you put aside personal beliefs and personal pet projects to make sure that when you make a decision for this commission board, that it's made in the interest of all Person County residents, all Person County taxpayers, and not just a few. Because there are some things that I've heard recently that continue to be a issue with me. We need to work on the landfill. For 4 years, I worked with other commissioners to try to make sure that we got a viable and workable landfill within Person County. And we almost got to a point where we could put that into place and things changed. We did studies as a commission board. We did studies as Person County taxpayers, and all of those things that we did showed that the state of North Carolina had done their due diligence and there were no issues related to this landfill. We should very quickly move into place a agreement with the landfill to make sure that we can take advantage of the position that we're in and make the amount of money that we can make for the residents of Person County. It's here. It's going to continue to be open, whether we want it to be open or not. But we need to take advantage of all the economic incentives that we can get from that. Also, when you look at different pet projects in Person County, we need to make sure that those are things that we as commissioners need to look at to make sure that those are things that the taxpayers need to do. In recent days, I've heard that there are talks that have already started between the golf course and the county commissioners prior to me even leaving office, that there are negotiations in a place to lease the golf course space from the gentleman who already bought the golf course. Those negotiations and those talks were not in the best interest of Person County. We've already talked about this in closed session. In closed session, we have come up with numbers such as $900,000 to run a golf course in a year, to mow the grass, to put people in place to run it. We took 4 years to get a penny for the fire departments. And you've already started talking to the golf course about leasing that space. Ridiculous. You all are sitting up there. You know who you are. You know you're in the majority. And that's ridiculous. Because that's not in the best interest of Person County. That's in the best interest of the people who want that. The people who want a golf course and the people who want a swimming pool. Think about somebody other than yourself when you make these decisions. I'm going to continue. I didn't write any articles to the paper when I was a commissioner because I had a bully pulpit to work from. But I can promise you from this day forward, as long as I'm not a commissioner, I'm going to write letters to the paper. And I'm going to criticize things that you guys do when I see that it's not in the best interest of Person County. When I made decisions, I tried to look at the holistic approach. I didn't want a senior center when I became a commissioner, but I looked at the holistic approach to Person County. I looked at that and I said, that's the best thing for Person County. These people got behind it and they said, these are the things that we need. And you look at the senior center right now, they're busting at the seams. They've got people that can't even find parking spaces to get into. And I put aside my partisan opinion to allow that to happen. And we work together as county commissioners to make that happen. And you've seen article after article talking about how well they're doing. But yet, I hear innuendo and rumor that we're already making deals behind closed doors. That's not what we should do. That's not how we should act. We should act on the integrity that we got elected on, and we should work on the integrity of the people and the taxpayers of Person County. And I promise you, Miss Betty Blaylock comes up here all the time, and bless her heart, I thank her for coming up here and keeping me. She looked at me a lot of times when I was sitting in that chair. And she made me think about things that I'd never thought about before. But I'm going to be Miss Betty Blaylock. And when I see things that are not going on in this county that I don't agree on, I'm going to be standing back here. And I like the fact that I can stand here and tell you guys what I think, and you guys don't have any way to talk back to me. Because in the past, Ray could sit over here and he could tell me what he thought. And Kyle could sit over here and he could tell me what he thought. But I can stand up here for 10 minutes if ain't nobody else here. How much longer do I have? 2 minutes. I got 2 more minutes, and I ain't stand up here, and I might pick out times when nobody else is gonna come up here, and I might just call you guys out. And I might tell lies, but I might tell the truth. And when I was running for county commissioner, one of the things that I told you, you may not like what I have to say, but I'm always tell you the truth. And that's what I'm gonna continue to do. Thank y'all.
What's your name again?
You got my
Okay. Everybody had time to look at the consent agenda? Anything they want to pull out and talk about?
Move for approval.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Number 6 is not a public hearing, is it?
It is not.
Okay. Laurie Oakley, you can come forward and tell us what we need to know.
Well, I'm waiting on my PowerPoint presentation to load. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the request that you have before you is SUB 02-18, a request by Randy Allen with Sunbelt Acquisitions on behalf of the property owner, Duke Energy Progress, for a subdivision concept plan for the peninsula at Hyco Lake consisting of 162 lots on 437 acres. Located off of State Road 1314 Zion Level Church in the R zoning district. Tax map and parcel ID numbers included are A1351, A14147, and the third parcel does not have a tax map and ID number assigned, but is referenced by the deed in your packet. So the proposed subdivision that I have before you tonight is on the screen over here. Kind of hard to see, it's in the purple area up here. It contains 3 parcels. As again, I've said 2 of them have been assigned the tax map and parcel ID number. The third one has not. The entrance road into the subdivision down here will actually cross another parcel that is contained within a 100-foot wide access easement. Okay. All of the parcels are currently owned by Duke Progress Energy, and the parcels are vacant and they contain woodlands. As you can see from the map, as long as that thing goes away, Hyco Lake does surround the properties on 3 sides, thank you. To the west of the property up here is a hunting lodge and also some vacant wooded parcels. To the north, you can see up here, doesn't really want to show up on that screen, are single family dwellings. There's also some vacant wooded parcels. To the east is a single family dwelling, and to the south are also, is also a single family dwelling along with some vacant wooded property. As I said, a single-family subdivision is proposed for the site with a total of 162 lots located on 437.72 acres. The subdivision will contain approximately 323 acres of common open space, which will be maintained by the Homeowners Association. The lots will be served by individual wells and a community wastewater collection system, treatment, and on-site disposal. The treated and disinfected wastewater will be irrigated in the common open space area in accordance with the North Carolina Division of Water Resource Regulations. Okay, IT. The minimum lot size will be 15,000 square feet with a minimum lot width of 75 feet, and that is due to them having a community wastewater collection system. The developer is actually proposing a slightly larger minimum lot size at a ½ acre. At the request of staff, and it's probably really hard to see here, the applicant has provided 2 turnarounds on the property for emergency vehicles. The first one is prior to the first intersecting street. The second one, as I've shown, is further into the subdivision. And again, this was at the request of staff after talking with Chief Terrain to make sure that fire and emergency vehicles could have adequate access. The applicant is requesting 4 variations or modifications to the subdivision regulations and also to the Person County minimum construction standards for private roads. Those 4 variations include to allow private streets within the subdivision. Secondly is the use of flag lots. Third are block lengths that exceed 2,400 feet in length. And lastly is to construct streets in the subdivision with 45 feet of right-of-way width. The applicant, in regards to private streets, the applicant has submitted a separate variation application to allow for the private streets. The way the ordinance is written, that variation needed to be handled in a separate application, which is your next item on the agenda. The other 3 variations can be reviewed as part of the subdivision concept plan, and I will briefly go through them. For flag lots, there are several flag lots proposed within the subdivision, and they're indicated on the site plan in the notes section. And flag lots are allowed per section 53-9 of the subdivision ordinance when it meets certain criteria such as difficult topography. The applicant has stated on the site plan that the proposed flag lots exist for 2 reasons. First is there are conditions that occur where the length of the lake shoreline greatly exceeds the street length that runs parallel to that shoreline. And due to that, the lots will become narrower where they join the street. And the second condition is where multiple lots have frontage on cul-de-sacs and they limit the length of the right-of-way at the perimeter of the cul-de-sac. Block lengths. According to the applicant, the proposed street system for the project is essentially one long cul-de-sac with numerous side streets. There was no opportunity to interconnect Watersell Way with parallel streets to create smaller blocks. As I previously stated, the property is essentially a peninsula with water on 3 sides of it. The proposed main subdivision street will be constructed along a ridge line with side streets to access the lakefront lots. And lastly, the 45-foot street right-of-way widths. The subdivision concept plan does propose right-of-way widths of 45 feet with a minimum width of 18 feet for the cul-de-sacs that will intersect Watersell Way, which is the main collector street. Watersell Way will maintain the minimum right-of-way width of 60 feet. The Person County land use plan does not identify the majority of the site as a specific land use category. However, a very small portion of the site, along with properties adjacent to it, are identified as rural residential. And of course, rural residential does include residential uses such as single-family site-built homes. Appendix O of the land use plan goes on to state that the county shall provide for a variety of housing types, densities, and price ranges. As previously stated, the property is zoned residential and the applicant is proposing a 162 lot subdivision on 437 acres. The proposed subdivision meets the requirements outlined in the Person County subdivision regulations and the Person County minimum construction standards for private roads, except for the 4 variations that are being requested, 3 of which can be approved with the subdivision concept plan, and the 4th one, as I stated, must be reviewed and approved separately, which is the next item on your agenda. Planning staff recommends approval of the concept plan for the subdivision SUB 02-18. Due to topography of the site and the existing site constraints, planning staff also recommends approval of the 3 variations to the subdivision, which includes the flag lots, the block lengths that exceed 2,400 feet in length, and street widths with a minimum of 45 feet of right-of-way. At the November 8th, 2018 meeting of the Planning Board, the board voted unanimously 5-0 to approve SUB 02-18 with the 3 requested variations due to the site constraints and the topography of the site. That is all that I have for you at this time. The applicant and his engineer are also in the audience if you have any questions for him.
So you recommend that we approve?
Yes, sir. With the 3 variations that they are requesting.
I want to ask a question, Mr. Chairman. What do you know, what type of sewer system are they talking about? Are they talking about a spray system? Are they talking about a drip irrigation system? What are they talking about?
It's my understanding they're talking about a spray system, but I'd rather the applicant come answer that question for you. or other engineer.
Good evening, I'm John Phillips, Dillon Phillips Engineers, 1500 Piney Plains Road, Cary, North Carolina, 27518. Yes, Laura's correct, we are proposing a spray irrigation wastewater system.
So each one of these lots are gonna have a septic tank and a pump tank, and it'll be pumped to the spray field.
No, that's, the first part is correct. Each house will have a septic tank and a pump system. They'll pump into a pressure sewer system that will go to a wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant will treat the wastewater to the standards the Division of Water Resources requires, and then the treated wastewater will be applied on the land when it's suitable weather conditions and soil conditions. And obviously in January or February when it's rained for a week, they can't spray. So part of the treatment system will have a lined storage pond. The treated wastewater will then be will go into the storage pond, and the storage pond has sufficient volume to store the treated wastewater during wet weather periods, and then apply it during periods suitable for spray. And typically the storage pond is sized for, in this part of the state, somewhere between 90 to 100, 110 days worth of wastewater from the entire development.
Who will operate that system? Will it be privately operated?
It's required that a licensed operator, licensed by the state, operate it. And the state also requires that the effluent is tested and the results are reported to the state. It's the same general concept that a municipal wastewater treatment plant has. Now, the homeowner association will have the responsibility of hiring a licensed operator to operate the system. Part of the state's requirements is that there's an operational agreement that the homeowners association has to enter into with the state, and it lists the different responsibilities that the HOA has. And one of the key responsibilities is the HOA has to prioritize their funding, that the wastewater system is the highest priority that their HOA funds have. And the state does that to ensure that the system will be maintained properly.
What kind of safeguard have you got in place in case, like the roads, most time in these subdivisions, you got homeowners association. The first thing you know, you got about 4 homeowners that don't want to pay their part. So therefore the other, if it's 10 of them, the other 6 of them all of a sudden end up having to either ride through potholes, level what they got. But in this case, you got a sewer system out. What kind of mechanism have you got in place that will force them to keep that system maintained? Because it won't be on their lot unless the pump goes bad on their lot. It'll be up there on the common area where you got the spray field at.
Yes, sir, that's correct. But the state of North Carolina has the big hammer in that situation. I mean, the homeowner association enters into this operational agreement. I mean, it's a binding contract, and if the system's not maintained properly, the state can fine the homeowner association. And the state ultimately, if it would be an extreme situation, the state ultimately can close the system down. I mean, the homeowners have this responsibility when they buy a lot. I mean, they understand and they're educated as what they're buying, but it's it's an obligation. I mean, yes, the homeowners, if they have bad streets and they all agree they don't mind driving on potholes, then that's their choice. But in this case, the state of North Carolina's got oversight over them, so they can't arbitrarily ignore the situation even if they were to choose to do that.
All right, how about the road situation? And if somebody else wants to ask something, but the road situation, I was here when we didn't have road. We started doing subdivisions, making them build the roads according to state specifications so the state could take the road over. Therefore, it wasn't an issue with 3 or 4 of them not wanting to pay their part of it, so you ended up with a much better situation the last 17, 18 years than we had before, because we had subdivisions out here. They charged more for the lots, but the people got more bang for the buck because the State Department of Transportation was paving them when they needed to be repaved and looking after the right-of-ways because they were built to state specifications. Now, we fixed to go in here now, and I understand that you're probably looking at where the lots are located with the lake on each side of it's restricting you to a certain degree. But you're cutting these lots back to, I believe, was it 15,000 square feet? Is that what you said a while ago for the average lot size?
The minimum lot size is that they're doing a half acre, which is 21,000.
Okay, half acre. So you go into a half acre lot, and then you're cutting these road sizes back. How ironclad is your road agreement? And I see where in here where you said you're building them to state specs, but if you're building a 45-foot road, what's the state spec? From the center line, 60 foot? Is that a 60-foot right of way on a regular state road?
The state has two classifications for subdivision roads: a collector street, which has a 60-foot right of way, and then a local residential street, which has a 45-foot right of way. What we've asked for in the variance is for these side streets, the local residential streets, to meet the DOT standards. Your ordinance has a 50-foot right of way, and what we've asked for is less than that, but it is the DOT standard for local residential streets.
But DOT will never take it over.
That's right, but there are two reasons that we've looked at private streets here. One is the length of this street, this long street. DOT has a maximum cul-de-sac that they will take over, a cul-de-sac length which is 2,500 linear feet. Because of the shape of this property, this cul-de-sac is much longer than that. And the second requirement is DOT has a density requirement of X number of lots per mile. And again, because we have such a long street system, just to get to the property and get into the property, we don't meet their occupancy requirements. So this... You
mean with this many lots, you don't meet the density requirement?
That's true, because we have so much street that has no lots on it. All the lots are shown as lakefront lots. But again, even if we did that, with the cul-de-sac length is longer than the DOT standard of it, or it exceeds the DOT maximum of 2,500 linear feet.
Now, Duke Energy owns this lake out there. Do they have any problem with this spray irrigation system being located that close to the lake? Have you applied for the permit for the spray system?
We have not applied for the permit. Where we are in the process is the state has many requirements to get one of these permitted, and part of it is having an extensive amount of soil testing done, and that's somewhere on the order of 3/4 of the way of being done. So no, we've not yet applied for permit because we don't have all the information yet to do that.
One of the reasons the development's been restricted out there around the lake is the soils. They can't get the septic tank systems in a lot of those lots out there. So you know you're dealing with a situation to start with, and I understand this is an alternative system to that. You don't have to have as good a soil if you're going to use a spray system as you do if you're going to put a subsurface system in.
Yes.
But now, I'm getting back to something else, and you know where I'm going with this, because if it's a spray system, I understand it's being treated by a wastewater treatment plant. Gotcha. Familiar with them. I understand what you do when you spray it out onto the surface. You've got to have so many inches of soil that will treat wastewater, and you can't spray it when it's raining and all of this stuff. I got that.
Yes.
But I also got the fact that you're not on, I know you're not on a water supply, but you're still on a sensitive area. And Duke Energy's done been through a beating. They got a beating over some coal ash stuff running back into that lake. Now, if all of a sudden they have to take another beating because something goes wrong with that sewer system and it runs back into that lake, I suspect that they're not going to be a bunch of happy campers with Duke Energy. And the reason I'm questioning this is it's better to be questioned now than when you get over yonder getting a permit and somebody comes to the public hearing and all of a sudden, and I'm not trying to speak for Duke Energy and I'm not telling them what stand to take. I don't care what they do with it. It's up to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I am making the comment that they already got problems with things going into these lakes. Be careful and don't create another problem with it going into it. That soil out there is questionable in lots of places. There's some good soil out there, but there's some sorry soil out there too. If you get a geology map and look at it, you can tell what type of rock's under it. And if you get a soils map and look at it, you can tell what type of soil is on top of it. And it's a lot of it is shallow soil with rock under it. And I'm not trying to preach to you. I got kind of an issue with trying to put that many lots on that lake with that type of system. And I also got an issue with, if anybody else goes out here on the south, and now what you doing for stormwater? We don't have a stormwater ordinance on that end of the county because it's on the Roanoke River Basin. On the rest of the half of the county, we've got all kinds of stormwater stuff. So you clearing all of this property out here, I don't know whether you're doing anything for stormwater or not. I didn't hear that mentioned. I mean, is there anything for stormwater that's gonna catch any of the runoff from this road or from these houses before it hits that lake?
There's no, as far as runoff from the houses, no, but the streets, I mean, the streets will have, actually they're gonna have minimal storm drainage because we have, the main road is on the ridge line, we've got side streets, but I mean, the stormwater will be collected, as it normally would be.
Do they require any catch basins on those side streets? That's very steep topography in lots of places out there.
Well, yes, the state, and another part of this process is the erosion control plan has to be approved by the state of North Carolina. And these will be shoulder section roads, they'll have ditch sections. And part of the erosion control plan approval is showing that we have non-erosive velocities in the ditches. And then the water, as these cul-de-sacs, at the ends will be collected and piped to a discharge point. But there were several things I can try to respond to some of the comments that you made. You're absolutely correct. The soils out there are marginal soils in places, and they're also scattered around. There are different areas. So we have, soil science has done a lot of work out there. The spray areas will be located, there won't be one large spray field, there will be numerous smaller spray fields. The wooded areas, there'll be some clearing to construct the spray system, but it's not going to be a cleared area in an open spray field. Again, because the soils are marginal, the application rate is going to be low. We already know from the information we've got it's going to be extremely low rate. I mean, you sound very knowledgeable about systems. I mean, we're talking about annual irrigation rates that can range from anywhere to 12 inches a year to, depending on some of the soil testing, possibly up to 24 inches a year. And I know, again, from what you said, you realize that's a pretty low application rate. The part about possible runoff into the lake, one of the state's requirements is there's not runoff. Runoff is not allowed from the spray field. That's a violation of your permit if you have a runoff from the spray field. That's why we have the storage ponds, so that we're applying at a rate the soil can accept. The other thing that's particular with this development is the entire property that has lakefront is lined with lots. So if the operator were to be negligent in his duty, and if he were to have runoff from the spray field, before it's going to get to the lake, it's going to go through somebody's lot. And I assure you that if the state's going to be notified then that there's a serious problem. But again, the whole design of the system is to provide treatment and provide enough storage and to irrigate at a low enough rate, or a rate that the soils will accept the wastewater. So I mean, yes, certainly something could go wrong with it, but it's there are a lot of things that have to line up in a negative way for that to happen.
Don't they have a system like this over at St. George?
Where?
St. George.
I don't know. This system is not, just for your information, the sewer system is not handled by the local health department because it's considered, it's not subsurface. It's got to be subsurface for the local health department to handle it. So this sewage system will be entirely handled by engineers and people on the state level. It won't be handled by the local health department. The only thing they'll handle is the water supplies. I think you've got individual wells on each lot. Am I correct with that?
That's what we're proposing, yes.
So you're going to drill 100 and something wells out there, but the local health department will have to permit those to be sure they're far enough from the septic tanks and the pump tanks.
You put these in somewhere else, I'm sure, I assume.
Yes, I mean, these systems have been used around the state, certainly in the eastern and central.
Do any other areas require a bond to support the
operation of the system? It's
as a backup
for homeowner-owned systems. It's I'm not familiar with one that's had a bond. It's just it's the homeowner association responsibility to fund it. And again, the operational agreement they enter into with the state says that is they have to prioritize that over any other funding needs the homeowner association might have. I mean, it's just as, I mean, it's similar to the municipal system. I mean, the municipal system that's operated is funded with taxpayer money, and if you know, if the town decides they're gonna quit funding their sewer plant, then they're gonna get in trouble with the state. I mean, there's the same repercussions. It's just with the homeowners association rather than with the town board in that case.
Well, I think Mr. Clayton got a good point in the fact that you've seen, at least you've heard of some homeowners associations that went belly up, and then who was left to fix it. So, you know, this is a pretty big undertaking, but if you had a bond attached to it, I'd feel a whole lot more comfortable. But I don't know that wouldn't take a ordinance adjustment, would it? This is not a special use permit.
I want to point out that when the local health department handles these types, handles systems out there, if they're negligent, it can come back on the county. In this situation, I'm assuming, and Mr. Aycock will have to answer this, I'm assuming that since the state is permitting these sewer systems, that if something goes wrong with this sewer system, it will go back to the state, not to the county, because we have no permitting authority in that sewer system as far as the sewer system part goes.
Yes, sir, I believe you're correct. You know, where we permit, we've had cases in this county where the county has been responsible when they fail. But I believe if the state does a permitting, we are not on the hook legally.
The issue is the homeowner's gonna call where they got the tax bill from. And that's one of the first things that I came on the board with, where these subdivisions were concerned about the roads. And I'll be interested to know how many variations have we issued in the past with subdivisions, because when I first got on the board, everybody called on their road paved, or their road had holes in them, or we heard from the volunteer fire departments about the maintenance of the road was not being kept up, and to get in and out of these places with our ambulances and so on and so on. And so I'd be interested to know, when I asked the planning department years ago when those complaints were coming up, we were told that we changed our ordinance to make sure that these roads are now built to state DOT standard. So how many variations do we normally give? I mean, about 2010 or so, with all that would happen with the housing market, we stood here as a board of equalization with someone who took their family farm and subdivided and built the roads to our standards and paved them, and were about to go bankrupt because they weren't selling lots. And so we didn't help that person. So how many of these variations do we give based off our ordinance for the road maintenance?
I know I have researched that there have been at least 2 different variations approved for 2 different subdivisions in the past.
Since the new ordinance requiring the road, or since you've been here?
Not since I've been here, dating back probably within the last 10 years. There have been 2 that I know.
Well, if an engineer puts his stamp on it, that ought to mean something. But it's still going to be permitted by the state, so we also don't need to lose sight of the fact that's going to create about $4 million worth of tax base.
Can I ask a question, Ms. Oakley?
Yes.
Ms. Oakley, planning and zoning, they've already approved this unanimously?
The planning board?
Right, that's, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
planning board did send a unanimous favorable recommendation.
They've had all this information, they've had this discussion about.
They did, they asked several questions of the applicant and his engineer, and they recommended unanimously.
Okay, good, that's good enough for me.
All right, any more discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the variance.
Any more discussion?
That's not the correct motion based off the planning board's face.
All right.
Just.
There's a subdivision with 3 variations.
Okay.
That's the request.
All right, move to approve the request then.
Okay, we need to define that. You got the motion?
I have it. Yes, sir.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, I'm opposed.
Okay, so noted. Mr. Oakley, still got the floor.
Okay. The next item, and waiting for the PowerPoint to load, is the variation that we've kind of already touched on. VAR 01-18, a request by Randy Allen with Sunbelt Acquisitions on behalf of the property owner Duke Energy Progress for subdivision variation. I won't go through all the details for the same subdivision that we just discussed. And the subdivision variation request is to allow the proposed subdivision streets to be constructed as private streets. As I stated, a single-family subdivision is proposed for the site with a total of 162 lots on 437 acres. Article 5, Design Standards of the Person County Subdivision Regulations, states that in all subdivisions where there are 7 or more lots, the roads shall be designated as public and constructed to NCDOT standards. Section 71-1 goes on to state that where because of topographical or other conditions or unnecessary hardships, the subdivider may request a variation to that ordinance. The applicant has submitted the variation application for the proposed subdivision to allow for private streets to be constructed throughout the subdivision. The maintenance of the private streets will be handled by a road maintenance agreement and administered by the Homeowners Association. The applicant has stated on the application that the long access easement from Zion Level Church Road to the property and the peninsula nature of the tract combine to create a cul-de-sac length that exceeds NCDOT standard maximum length of 2,500 linear feet. Due to this tract being a peninsula, there are no opportunities to interconnect the streets with streets on adjacent tracts and create an interconnected street network that would normally meet NCDOT standards. At the request of staff, the applicant has provided a roundabout or turnaround, actually 2 of them within the subdivision for better maneuverability for emergency vehicles. As I stated, NCDOT's subdivision road standards allow for a maximum length of 2,500 linear feet on dead-end streets, and Watersale Way in the proposed subdivision has a very approximate length, I've tried to measure, of 13,000 linear feet. If the variation is approved and the private roads are allowed, again, the maintenance of those streets will be handled by a road maintenance agreement, which will be recorded in the Register of Deeds office and administered by the Homeowners Association. At the November 8, 2018 meeting of the Planning Board, the board voted unanimously 5-0 to recommend approval of VAR 01-18 due to the topography of the site. And again, if you have any questions of me, I'll be happy to answer them.
At DOT, they meeting DOT standards other than the width of the road, is that?
So their plans haven't actually, their construction plans are submitted. If this is approved by the board, their next step is to submit their construction plans. Everything that they've submitted said that they intend to build the roads to NCDOT construction standards. It's just they can't dedicate them to NCDOT because of the length of the cul-de-sac.
Because of the length, but they're gonna pave the road and build it to their standards.
Yes.
If I could just
Yeah.
confirm that, yes, sir, that is our intention to build the DOT standards, including the width. The local residential street in their subdivision standards is an 18-foot wide street and a 45-foot right-of-way. So that, again, we're proposing that as well as the pavement design.
Have you ever heard of DOT making any type of an exception to that, where you had a situation like this, where there was a peninsula, where you couldn't do anything else?
Not of this, no, sir. Not of this length. It's just an extremely long cul-de-sac.
So we approve this variation. What holds you to doing that? Because I've heard both of you all say intent. So what if the intent changes after we approve this tonight?
Well, I'm telling you that that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna submit the plans to the county. If plans that we submit don't meet DOT's construction standards, as far as pavement design, horizontal curvature, then the staff can reject it. I mean, we're proposing to do it to DOT standards. We just can't dedicate it to DOT because of these limitations.
So Lori has a chance to do some checks and balances after we approve the variation tonight, if it's approved, once the construction plan goes to you?
Yes.
All right. discussion? Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
I want her to repeat the motion. What, tell me exactly. What have you got in your thing here? We made a motion to approve your request, but what's the wording of it?
It is a subdivision variation request to allow the proposed subdivision streets to be constructed as private streets.
Your option is
To
to approve
DOT
it,
standards.
or approve with variations, or not approve it. Those are your three
You
choices.
got anywhere in there that is, except for the lineal footage part of it, is still the DOT standards?
No, being a variation, I imagine they could put a condition on it, as long as the applicant were willing to agree that they would build it to NCDOT
Well, they
standards
just
other
said they
than the
would.
lane.
But once they
But I
submit
want it in writing somewhere.
once they submit the construction plans to you, if it's an intent of this board, I hope you wouldn't approve it. If it does not meet DOT standards.
Sounds like they wanna put a condition on the
Yes,
approval.
which
I don't want
think
intent, I
does.
wanna know what they're gonna do if we're gonna vote on it tonight.
Mhm.
So you could make a motion to approve with the condition that the road is designed and meets DOT standards.
Is your motion amenable to that?
Yes, I'm fine.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Mr. Powell?
Hey, gentlemen, we'll move along with this one pretty quickly, I think. I've had a request from a Person County native to name a section of,
I thought we were talking
Just
about
give
the
it one.
strategic
I'm sorry.
EDC.
I got the wrong sheet up here on top. Please forgive me. Over the past year or so, the EDC Board of Person County has been conducting meetings. I think there were maybe a total of 9 meetings, and total man hours put into this project maybe approaches 500 hours. So something that was not done spur of the moment or with a small amount of consideration. There was a lot of work and a lot of time put in this effort. So we're coming forward with a strategic analysis for economic development in Person County. And again, we have looked at and identified strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats to advance economic development in Person County. I think very, very thoroughly, commonsensically, and come up with a good analysis here. So at this time, I would ask Mr. Dale Reynolds if he would come forward with that presentation, please.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm Dale Reynolds. I'm honored to be here tonight and a member of your EDC Commission and a member of the PCBIC as well. First thing I'd like to do is thank you all for serving. Congratulations on your elections and all as well. As you know from previous work and all I've done, it takes a lot of courage to do your job. And we appreciate that. It's a thankless job. You don't get a lot of thanks for what you do. But I want to say thank you to myself. As Commissioner Powell has been mentioning, EDC, PCBIC has been meeting since the first of this year, working on ways to improve economic development within the community. And in doing that, we tried to look at establishing goals for the future, but in doing that, we had to look back to the past as well. And so in doing that, we worked on many aspects of it, but we had to talk frankly about the opportunities and the threats and the weaknesses and our strengths also. So through PCBIC, we had, as Councilman said, 9 meetings, and we had a lot of frank discussion. And with that, we want to share a lot of what we went over tonight, and hopefully this will be a roadmap for giving us direction for the future. So this is a strategic analysis, looking at where we are today and how we can go forward for the future as well. Is the presentation coming up? Okay, I got a clicker here, so I got to figure out where to point it.
Anywhere?
Anywhere, okay. So with this, again, as we're talking about, we've been working on reaching most to create a vision and to assess the goals and opportunities to go forward with the Person County Economic Development Commission and PCBIC. So many of you are probably aware of what a SWOT analysis is. And when we first started on this, we didn't think this was going to take very long to go through this. We thought it'd be just a couple meetings and we'd have some goals then, we'd be ready to run on down the road and do some wonderful things. Unfortunately, we found out that the deeper and more layers that we pulled out, we had to keep digging deeper and deeper, and it took a lot more time and a lot more meetings to get there. I won't think everybody participated. We're estimating it was probably over 500 man hours put into this analysis that we did. So what we looked at, again, are the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So the first section we want to talk about are our strengths. We looked at the community. The airport is a great asset to the community. Also, we have a certified mega site. We have our own community college with PCC. We're also in a good location regionally with our proximity to the major universities. Also, currently we have abundant water supply as well. We have abundant power with the 2 power plants by Duke Energy here also. We afforded reasonable land costs compared to other communities within the state. Fortunately also, with some of the commission's prior work, we have fiber now that's coming throughout the county also. Our cost of living compared to other communities is much lower. And we have a lot of natural resources here with our lakes and all to work. But also we have to look at our weaknesses. And so if we're going to put goals together for the future, we need to try to work through these weaknesses and see how we can improve on things. One of the first weaknesses that was pointed out was a lack of vision for the community and for our county. That's one of the things we really want to hope that this can help set some direction for the future also. Infrastructure has its weaknesses also. And one of the big things, especially for economic development, is having an educated workforce. And there's a lot of areas that need work in that arena as well. Appearance came up a lot in conversation. There's a lot of plight in Person County as well. As you come into our community, there's many abandoned, just upheaval buildings and all that are not very attractive for people coming to here. And we're not doing much about them either. So how can we improve the appearance of our community? And part of the conversation on that was actually, if you were going to put the county up for sale, how would you sell it? Just like if you were going to sell your house, you go and paint it and try to make it as pretty as you can. That's what we need to do also for economic development. So we need to address some of these issues to make our community more attractive and more inviting. We have a lot of other areas that are very beautiful, but we need to clean up some acts as well. One of our big challenges and weaknesses also is public funding for economic development. There's very little there. Industrial park readiness needs a lot of attention. We'll talk more about that in the future. Roads and interstate. Of course, we don't have an interstate here. One of the things that's been talked about for many, many years is the completion of 501 being 4-lane all the way to the Virginia border. That's something that would really help as well. Housing, definitely some lack of housing in certain areas here for affordable housing as well as housing attractive for people who want to move to the community. Lack of development in southern Person County. We see a lot of opportunity there because that's closer to the development that's taking place in the state. We see opportunity there, and we're not seeing that kind of development taking place. Also, regional perception. And it's, again, a lot of comments, a lot of open, frank discussion going on through this. And a lot of the perception of Person County and other areas is not very positive. Infrastructure, in some cases, is at capacity, especially sewer systems and stuff at the southern part of the county. And another piece of it, we're not really marketing our community very well. We're not marketing Person County, we're not marketing our economic development, we're not marketing our opportunities to grow our community. And then another piece of weakness is the percentage of unemployables. This is an area we need to work to try to find opportunities to create jobs for everyone in the community. We look further, workforce development. This is really a great opportunity for us to improve on, and we can work with our school systems, all of that. Marketing of EDC and the mega site, we really think this will help us with growth. Develop technical workforce. The jobs of the future, as many people have said, have not been created yet, but also there's a lot of jobs currently that are not being fulfilled. Technical skills are really lacking at this time. We need electricians, we need people doing HVAC, we need mechanics. We're not getting a lot of training on that now, so we need to start back to some of the training that we did before and working with the schools on those levels. Vision of development, and that's really important. If you don't have a vision of where you're going, how do you know you ever got there? So it's really important to have a plan and look at where we want to go long term. Dan River water resources. That's great to have that abundant supply of water available to us, and we give credit to the commissioners and years past, and City for working to develop that, and hopefully that can come to pass in the future. World-class schools. It's very important economic development to have the kind of schools that people would want to move to and have available in their community to train their employees and also to educate their children. Agricultural growth. And that's what our community all started with, was agriculture. And it's still a part of our community today. It's important that we continue to work with that and grow those in ways that we can. Saw a gentleman earlier this evening that's growing vegetables in his greenhouses. And so you hear a lot more about organic vegetation and produce and all available today. We need to try to grow those more opportunities where we can. Another big thing of it is proximity to burgeoning businesses. You hear a lot of that in economic development currently. We're fortunate again that we're close to Durham and RTP and a lot of new businesses developing out of the schools there. Also the American Tobacco Campus. So a lot of these small businesses, high tech in many ways, are growing, but how can we attract them to move here to Person County and be part of that new technology and new businesses that are growing from there as well? But at the same time, we need to assist local businesses. Every business here needs our support in every way that we can to help them to grow and prosper and create more jobs in the community. With that also, beautification. Again, we talked about appearance in the past, but we can also always improve the appearance and how we look to the rest of the world. Landfill negotiations, that was mentioned earlier tonight. Those are things that can be discussed more, but there's opportunities to improve that. Also opportunities working with the Chamber of Commerce, the tourism, RDG involvement, downtown development as well. We want to work with them and help businesses and all in development growth here. Grow our airport services. We have a great airport out there. I'm a pilot, I take advantage of it. I appreciate that the airport is here. You're doing some nice things to improve it also, but we need more improvement there. We'll discuss it also. Community investment and engagement. And that's a really important thing. We've got to get everybody engaged. Economic development is not just this committee that I'm serving on. It's the whole community. It's every person in this room here tonight and all that's involved in economic development, whether they realize it or not. Our threats. Owning our challenges. We have to stand up and we can't kick the can down the road. We have to stand up and take advantage of the opportunities to solve the problems that we've been elected to do, and everybody here also work together to solve the problems that our community has. The other threat is Falls Watershed and the challenges it's created in development in the southern part of the county. Government and regulation can be a threat to economic development as well, whether it be from the state or even local. Partisan politics creates nothing. And we've seen it in federal, state, local, between intergovernments and all as well. Everybody has to work together to grow economic development in the community. Lack of innovation. And innovation, not just in government, but primarily more in the community and new industry and new business opportunities. But also innovation in the way we approach going forward to business and helping people develop business in the future. Our threats also healthcare services. Fortunate that we have a Person Hospital as part of the Deep Life program, but it's important that we're able to maintain that and have this hospital services here for economic development. It's very important for corporations that come and look. Excuse me. Lack of support for EDC. It's hard for EDC to do things if we don't have the support of the commissioners as well as the community also. Negative press. There's been negative press, not just locally, but statewide and in other areas now. We need to create positive press for economic development and the community as a whole. In the county, we need to be sure that we're getting our best foot forward. Loss of solidarity of the board. We need our board to be solid together as well as the EDC working together to make sure we're moving forward in the right direction. And the other threats are competitive neighbors. Whether we realize it or not, every county next to us is our competitor. They're all out there trying to take the same industry and the same jobs that we are, and we're competing for those as well. So when we took all these threats and opportunities and strengths and weaknesses, and then we tried to narrow them down a bit more into what were the most important items that we could all focus on together and what would move forward the furthest for us. So we tied our strengths and opportunities together. So some of our strengths, PCC and our proximity to major universities, So we can take those and create opportunities with those, like our workforce development, assisting local businesses, and world-class schools. PCC has done a lot of things along those lines for us. It's a great thing. And how can we work more with the other colleges in the area as well to offer training for the type of jobs we want to bring in the future as well. World-class schools. And this is really important. Every parent here would want their children to get absolutely the best education that they possibly can. But also, if you want to attract industry here to the community, you got to provide those type of schools for people to want to move here. And if you're not doing that, then they're going to look elsewhere. And we're having to compete, so we're going to have to improve the way we educate our children also. But those are opportunities and things that we can work on together and improve. Additionally, other strengths, we have the airport, water, abundant power, and fiber. So how do we work those together? Marketing of EDC and the mega sites, our Dan River water sources, and proximity to burgeoning businesses. These are all strengths that we can work back and forth, side to side, to work and improve our opportunities. Other things that we have, the mega site and RTP, we're not marketing that well. In our opinion, we need to work on marketing not just the mega site, but also all economic development here within the community and throughout the world also. And the big thing is developing a vision. So that's part of what EDC's job is, trying to help develop that vision for going forward for EDC as well as hopefully for the rest of the community as a whole. Other strengths that we have is reasonable land costs and the cost of living. Other opportunities that we have are agricultural growth, marketing of EDC and the mega sites. We say that again because we feel that that's a very important part of this going forward. Other opportunities are proximity to burgeoning business. We really need to be reaching out and creating opportunities for those small businesses that are trying to grow and give them the wings that they need to grow their businesses. Beautification, again, use that to make ourselves more attractive. A lot of people come up here and visit and they talk about the beautiful lakes and the community and the drive coming up here and all, but we can still do more to improve the perception of our community. Our weaknesses and threats, and this is where we become more challenging, and that has been a lack of vision. And so we want to try to help create that vision going forward, but without vision, how do we know where we're going? There's an old saying, if you fail to plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we feel somewhat that we've been there to a certain degree. Another great weakness that we have is public funding for EDC. And those are things that we really have to have because we can't do a lot of these things without the support and the funding of the county commissioners. Big threats, brain drain. We have a lot of wonderful young people that grow up in this community and are educated, and our best and brightest leave and go off to school. And unfortunately, most of them don't come back. And it's hard to bring that talent back in. And I, as a business owner, we've struggled with that to a degree at times. And quite honestly, I've had many people that come to work with me daily from Raleigh and Durham up here instead. And their choice is they prefer to live out of the town and all. And a lot of them grew up here. But the brain drain is a real thing. Loss of population, and that's more of the younger sect. We do have an aging population here as well. Partisan politics, we know what all that can do. But owning our challenges, it's very important that we understand what our challenges are, take ownership of them, and deal with them, and not kick them down the road. Additionally to that, other weaknesses, infrastructure, roads, the interstate as we mentioned, housing, lack of development in southern Person County industrial parks. Our threats, livability and quality of life deficits. And that is really the things that challenge young people and professionals to want to move to Person County when they have other areas that have a lot more entertainment, quality of life, and things that they want to go and take advantage of. Falls watershed again. These are again our major threats and weaknesses that we're going to focus on. Falls watershed still creates challenges in southern Person County and how we can help develop southern Person County more with that challenge ahead of us. Again, a really big threat would be the loss of Duke Energy. There's been talk over the years of the possibility of them possibly closing or changing the fuel types and all. That would be a major impact to our community if they were to close. Government regulations, those are the ones that can really impact development, and healthcare services that would really threaten our community being able to grow if we were to lose the hospital services. We went too far. Educated workforce. Again, this is imperative that we have an educated workforce. And I've talked to others in the past who stated issues with hiring people, and it's important that every young person that comes out of our school system has the opportunity to go out and find gainful employment because they got a good education. But in addition to that, be able to go the next step further with our PCC and other schools and provide additional training to help support industry. And of course, for all that, it takes public funding. Those are weaknesses we have. Again, the brain drain. And a big thing is the lack of innovation. Our community, most of our industries that we have here really do not bring a lot of high-tech innovation to our community, where you see a lot more of the stuff in Silicon Valley stuff. With the mega site, we're looking at more of that type of opportunity, but again, we need more of that coming forward. Appearance, again, ties to our regional perception, and again, our news and all about us as well. But really important to us is we need to get over the negative perception of Person County. Many people aren't aware of that, but we hear a lot of that as well. So that was the good and the bad and the ugly that we went through. It took many, many months to decipher what those were. And from there, the PCBIC developed a mission statement, or vision statement, excuse me. The Person County Economic Development Commission is working to create opportunities for families and businesses to prosper and compete in a global economy. So believe it or not, we are competing in a global economy, even though it might be competing with Orange County next door, or Granville County, or it might be competing with China. A lot of things that used to be made here are no longer being made here. They're being made elsewhere. So we are in the challenges. The building that my business is located in, those jobs ended up going to India instead. A lot of things do change. We are competing. But with that, our vision statement is compete in a global economy, focus on future goals, and expand our current successes from 2012 and 18. So we went back and looked at the goals that were established back in 2012. And so we need to know what the EDC plan was then so we can help try to plan better for the future. With that, this is going back to their plan from then. It was community collaboration, affiliated partnerships, and media. And many of these things that they accomplished, especially when we look at affiliated partnerships. We are part of the Research Triangle Regional Partnership, Car-Tar Council of Governments, Roxborough Development Group, Roxborough Area Chamber of Commerce, and Tourism Development Authority. These are all things that can help us work together in our region and grow our community. So I give them credit for that. Media, they developed a website, they've tied into LinkedIn, Twitter, and also they have a weekly blog that was being posted, Better in Person. Additionally, planning, Person County Future Planning included broadband expansion. Fortunately, that's taking place also. Obtaining the NC certified site, so the mega site has been certified. That's a great thing. Reviewing the zoning ordinances, workforce development planning with PCC and PCS, liaisons between city and county, and site inventory. Those are all projects that were started and many of them was done. Organization, workforce, market analysis, and CRM software. So they actually acquired, I believe, a program for ACT to put everything in and try to manage and keep a good database of what's going on. EDC website's been developed, and departmental growth with the addition of a full-time admin support. And fortunately, we have Sherry Wilburn with us, and with the exit of Stewart, she's been very helpful in maintaining and going forward, and we'll give her congrats on that. Marketing, tours of EDPSC with, they went to the West Coast, NC, New York, DC, Canada. They also did some other things for marketing EDC, so we have some logos and different pieces and graphics to work with. So the accomplishments that really took place prior to this EDC board coming into place were industry expansion, GKN, Diamond Candles, Spuntech, Boise Cascade, solar farms, product development, industrial sites inventory, and site development, developing the ED tools, website, social media, and the affiliate partnerships. Those are still in place and helpful today. Recent accomplishments in 2018, the mega site certification, and that's a big feather in the community's cap, and the addition of Polywood recently. Nice to bring that company in and the additional jobs that they'll be creating. But with that now, we also have obstacles, and big obstacles that we have are limited financial resources. ED trends are toward urban areas, not to the rural. So you go to your Raleighs and your Greensboros and your Charlottes, they continue to grow and flourish. and everybody's wanting to go there. Even, you know, RTP in Raleigh was in the running for Amazon's headquarters. You don't hear them talking about the small communities. State legislation. You know, we don't know what's around the corner the next time or what they're going to put or impose on us, but just like the southern part of the county, that came through legislation at the state that restricts our ability to use our water, our land and all due to the Falls Reservoir there. Currently, we have no inventory of modern manufacturing facilities. With Pollywood's move here, the last real modern facility that we have available for anybody has now been taken. So currently, we have no available properties available to really show anybody at this time. There are some older warehouses out there, but it's not a modern facility that people can come and take advantage of. No available properties in the industrial park for new industries. So we're out of resources on that as well. And the big thing is no current capital development fund to work with to create these opportunities. So these are things that we see are obstacles for developing economic development in the future. So with this, our 2018 economic development goals focused on 4 areas: education, funding, marketing, and continued support. In education, we believe having world-class schools is paramount. If we don't have that, we're not going to attract the employees that want to come to the community, to live here, to be employed by the companies that could come here. They're going to look at that quality of life as far as education for their workers as well. Technical trades in high school. I know I was happy that the high school started back with electrical trades several years ago. But those are basics to industry that everybody needs. But we need more of those kind of things as well. So we need to support more trades in our schools. Advanced Technology Training Center at PCC. We're fortunate that we have PCC. They've been with us many years, but it's getting a bit aged and tired. And to keep up with some of the newer technologies and the new advanced training in the systems, they need investment there as well. Another thing we need to look at is partner with other counties and communities that are close by to share training opportunities and all between the communities. Additionally, marketing, we're not marketing ourselves well. And I look at it from a business standpoint. If I'm trying to sell something, I got to get out there in front of people and sell to the community. And we're not doing that today. Local marketing, we even need to sell ourselves to our own community also. So we need to sell the programs that we're working on and the vision of what we want to try to accomplish, and EDC, economic development, is part of everybody in the community. So we have to look long-term, not just short-term, but we have to get buy-in by all stakeholders in the community. Marketing, state, regional, and national, we got a mega site. We're really kind of depending on the state, and we appreciate their help on the state, but we're not personally here marketing ourselves and our opportunities out to the rest of the country, and there's opportunities to do that as well. But of course, everything we're talking about here takes money. But those are things that we need to work on. But we really need to market the mega site and Person County and the benefits it can create to other companies. Also in the marketing, appearance enhancement. Again, there's many things that we can do along those lines as well. Relentless recruiting. We really need a new EDC director that is a salesman for this community, that's out there beating on every door of every new business opportunity to bring them to Person County. If you don't have that person out there driving, trying to bring people here, you're not going to get the businesses you're looking for. Entrepreneurial growth and partnership with the education sector. A lot of people talk about public-private investment. That's part of this as well. So we need to make sure that entrepreneurs get the support they need, but also we get other investors and businesses to invest and partner with the education system to provide the tools and the education that we need. The airport, we really have an opportunity to market that south of here, especially into Raleigh, Durham, and the surrounding areas. So the wisdom of the council commission has been to invest more, and there's more investments to take place as well. And I myself go to Lee County Airport, and that's a new airport that was built 10 years ago. And it's 3 times more populated than the airport is here. There's a lot of corporate jets and aircraft going into that site. And we actually have a better runway and things here than they do. But there's opportunity to grow and bring people and industry here. Also, I was fortunate enough when Pollywood came in for their announcement to be one of those that met them and take them on the tour of the community. And they fly in here. And most everybody coming in looking at this community, they're flying in. And if you want them to be West Coast opportunities, you're going to have to get that airport where you can accept those aircraft and all. So you're making good investments, but we need to continue down that road. But we need to market that airport to let people know it's available. Continued support, agricultural economy. There's been some new agriculture coming around. I believe we have the hemp farm out here now, and it's bringing some new opportunities. But there's so many more things that can be grown here and grow the agricultural economy in Person County. And you see that more going into even tourism and also. So we need to try to support our farm community. We really need to support existing industries. Go out and knock on the door. What can we do to help you to grow? We were fortunate this year in my own company that North Carolina EDC came to us and asked us how can they help us grow it. And that's the first time that's ever happened, but it's nice to have that, and we need more of that even locally as well. And all businesses. We need to support the small businesses as well as the larger businesses and industries. Everybody at times has challenges. And I remember I was fortunate enough to be at a presentation in Knoxville, Tennessee, and the head of the Chamber of Commerce was there and made a presentation. And he was saying that his job was there to support the businesses. And that's what really EDC should be here as well, is to support the businesses and help them grow and prosper. And there's challenges that arise, and we need to be able to help them with their answers. Recurring funding. So this is the hard part. Where does the money come from for all these things we talk about doing? EDC funding, we need a future capital development fund. Right now we have no money to go out and start any new development. The mega site, there's additional funding that's going to be required for there to take that through to fruition. More engineering, more acquisition, more spending on things to get there. But great opportunity for the future for us. But the future capital development fund, we're looking at $1.4 million to really have the, and this is recurring yearly, to be able to fund the opportunities we need to create the jobs for the future. Infrastructure, redevelopment existing sites in major corridors with current services, $1 million a year. Expand water and sewer. We know typically that is a city utility and all, but if we're going to help expand it into the southern part of Person County, it's going to take some additional funding there as well. Education programs. As this whole process went further, the members of the PCBIC and EDC recognized that we needed more people on our board. And that's when, fortunately, the commission approved the addition of the new superintendent of school, Mr. Peterson, to be on our board as well. And fortunately, he came on and joined the share with us. And one of the visions we're looking at is how do we implement STEM programs in Person County in our education system. And right now, it would take $1 million a year to get that going in STEM programs. And those are the jobs, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, that we really need to help support industry going forward in all businesses as well. PCC also to improve the training that they have available there, additional funding that's needed. Person County Airport, the hangars are full. We need more hangars there. Somebody tries to bring in new aircraft there, whatever, you got no space for them. You're not going to get them. So it's very important to get the hangars built. And additionally, the space for the T hangars, the existing T hangars that are being built in the past will not accommodate a lot of the newer aircraft being built today. So you don't have to have the big corporate hangars, but you do have to have more hangars there to bring more aircraft into the community as well. Appearance enhancement. We're showing $250,000 a year right there for appearance enhancement. And that can be used in many ways. Clean up our streets, clean up our roads, clean up the trash. Maybe that's part of the revenue coming from many sources. I'm not here to tell you where the revenue comes from, but these are things that we see that need to be put into place to start cleaning up our community. All total, the recurrent funding we're suggesting is $6.75 million. That's a lot of money. And I never thought I'd be coming to a county commissioners meeting and asking them to raise my taxes. I'm a fiscal conservative, but also I'm a business owner, and we have to look at investment for the future. And I know every once in a while I have to reinvest in my business, and it takes money to do that. And we have to get borrowed, we have to raise it, we have to do things to do that, but we have to reinvest in the other aspects. So with that, we looked at many ways of how do we get to the funding and all. And one of the biggest things we looked at is comparing the tax rate with other counties. Person County is the cheapest property tax rate of all surrounding counties. Now I've heard and read in the paper that I'm very proud of the fact that we haven't raised taxes in 12 years. Well, that's a good thing to be proud of, but unfortunately it's not providing the funding that we need to take our community forward for the next 12 years as well. With that, to come close to our adjacent counties, Granville, Orange, and Vance, you'd be looking at a huge increase, 18 cents to get equal to them. The next closest to you is Caswell County, and Caswell County is a Tier 1 county. They're not growing very much. So if we want to grow like the upper surrounding counties, we got to start acting possibly like the other counties, or acting like the communities that we want to be like. Additional possible areas of revenue that you look at is sales tax. Also, we have the standard sales tax rate that's across the state. But again, when we look at surrounding counties, Durham County, Orange County, both they're getting an extra bit of revenue coming in off of their additional sales tax that they're receiving, and that's to help fund additional activities there. They've got a lot going on there. So with that, I'm coming to my close. We can choose to invest in our children and the future of our community, or we can choose to remain a Tier 1 county. This was published before the news that came out on Friday evening that fortunately Person County will not be ranked as a Tier 1 county anymore. It'll be a Tier 2. But we can also choose to become a Tier 3. We don't have to stay at Tier 2 either. We can move the county forward. So with that, we must be ready to compete in a global economy. And without investment and opportunities here, we're going to have a hard time doing that and creating the jobs for our citizens and the future that you all want for your children and for the rest of our community as well. With that, I'm done. Any questions?
Are there plans to present this to the City Council?
No, there currently are not.
Given that water is one of our strengths, I would highly suggest it. So they're on the same playing field as we are.
Well, we're fortunate that two members that have participated in this process have been the mayor as well as the city manager also. They've provided a lot of guidance in this plan. So we're fortunate to have them on board with us also.
Neither one of those have a vote. I would take advantage of not letting the city councilman know.
The mayor does.
The mayor votes?
Does.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'll stand corrected. Well, that's one vote. I still would let the city council.
And it
Wouldn't take it for granted on not reporting this. I think it's a good report. And if we're going to talk about involving the community and getting the word out of what needs to be done, obviously they're high on our list as partners.
Absolutely. And would be more than willing to do that as well. I think it'd be a wise decision to share it with them.
And what is the city's tax rate?
67 cents.
67.
Any more questions?
Good job.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Good job.
you. Thank you very much.
Good way to condense 500 hours into 30 minutes.
I would like to take this opportunity as past chair of EDC to thank Dale and the full committee for taking the time and effort to come up with this hopefully strategic plan. And Dale, this was Dale's initiative, and he's done a hell of a job with it. So I commend him on that and thank him thoroughly. Mr. Powell, well, no, wait a minute, let's see. Yeah, Ms. Clayton.
Hello, I'm Linda Clayton with Uptown Roxboro. This is my first appearance speaking with you, so bear in mind I'm a little nervous. I am speaking tonight on what we have worked on for 2018 for Uptown Development. I transitioned into my position in March of this year. I came in the midst of a rebranding project that Ms. Johnson had started. We are very excited with our rebranding. We're in the final phases. We worked with Amico Brand Design, and a leadership team was formed with representatives from the community, and did plenty of research to find out what we felt would be in the best interest of Uptown Roxboro. Excuse me. We found that Uptown Roxboro preserves its history while offering quaint shopping, diverse culinary venues, and lively cultural arts, all in a safe, family-friendly environment. So come uptown for the experience, stay for the charm, and personality is what we wanted to focus on, with our new theme being Uptown Roxboro, developing the art and living. Our focus is looking at the different aspects of arts, whether it is food, artwork, shopping, whatever your joys are in life, we want to focus on that and help build upon Uptown for that. Also this year, we, in working with the Main Street program, found that there were lots of confusion with the name Roxborough Development Group. So upon decisions with our board, we decided that we would rename Uptown Roxborough Group, Roxborough Development Group to Uptown Roxborough Group, because as you know, we do not develop any property, so there was confusion. As far as our statistics, out of 17 housing units Uptown Roxborough, we have 1 vacancy that I'm aware of right now. So as mentioned earlier in the meeting, there are lots of people that want to move uptown. We just do not have the vacancies at this point, so that is a sign of growth, that we can move forward and maybe look at some development in the near future. Out of 127 commercial spaces, we have very few available spaces. I know, as you're all aware, we have several buildings that are utilized as storage or need renovations that are owned by private people. We have been working with them to see if we can come up with some ideas on renovations so that they may be interested in leasing or selling in the near future. We've had 10 new businesses open up in Uptown, 2 businesses expanded, $500,000 in public and private investments. We issued a $5,000 facade grant for renovation of the Courier-Times building. We've logged in almost 600 volunteer hours. And as you're aware, we've continued to draw numbers with our Rocks and Roll Cruise in to bring in not only Person County people, but people from all over. It continues to grow. I think we got up to maybe 210 total cars participated in one of our last few cruise-ins. So that's become a big growth. Merchant meetings have been offered with Uptown Merchants in conjunction with Roxborough Chamber of Commerce, Person County Tourism, the RAMA, Roxborough Area Merchant Associations, Piedmont Community College, and Uptown Roxborough, just to try to figure out ways to improve shopping, restaurants, foot traffic, anything that would interest anybody to come uptown. And as Mr. Reynolds mentioned, you know, one of our biggest challenges is trying to renovate spaces uptown so that it does become more welcoming. And we are working towards that. We've got a lot of plans for 2019 that we're excited about as far as growth, and we just want to thank you for your continued support in Uptown Roxborough. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment. She did a lot of good things. I was on a committee with the Carter Regional Group, and we were at a meeting, and they had a tour set up, and we went to Shelby, North Carolina, and looked at what they've done there with the Uptown. And the group that you've got listed right here, the Chamber, Tourism, Merchants Association, people in operating the Kirby with the community college, all of these groups got together in that town, and I don't know whether it would be a way that it could be looked at to have an umbrella organization that the attorney could look at, that everything worked under, but they got together there, and of course they had some drawing cards and did some uptown redevelopment stuff, and had some people that invested money in it, just like you're talking about. But I think that'd be a good thing for this whole group if they could look at some of those situations where they have done that and see sort of how they did it, and see if it's in a way that you could help, because we do need to do all we can do to help our uptown area. It's the only town we've got in the county, and you know, like it was mentioned with EDC a while ago, I think if they could all be under one group, or at least be where they're communicating maybe more, and maybe they are and I don't know it, but be where we could try to help, because the city of Roxborough's got the water and the sewer, and we work with them on all these other things. And, you know, it's to our benefit, it's to the county's benefit for our uptown to, I'd like to see it sort of come back like some of these other places have. And I feel like y'all are doing a good job at what you're doing, but it might be something that you could see there where something you hadn't thought of, that maybe we could do this a little bit different. But you know, I'm just throwing that out there, and I don't know whether it would be possible for all of these things to be under one umbrella or not. That would be something the attorney would have to look at and monitor to see if it was even any way to do that. But I just want to throw that out there, plant that seed.
I believe they already communicated through the Directors Roundtable. Am I?
We do.
And so that's a.
And additionally, you have the mayor and the city manager on the EDC, and a lot of what you're talking about right now is they're interacting and talking. And a good example, I'd invited a representative from RTRP that was here last week out on a very chilly morning. They're walking the streets of Roxborough and getting her acquainted with Roxborough, and then with Manager York, a tour, expanded tour. So those conversations are taking place already.
Mm-hmm. Good. And give an example this Thursday, Jingle on Main, that's Directors Roundtable. That's everybody coming together, working together with coming up with the ideas, because no one organization can do that by themselves. It's such a heavy workload to get something. But I was just been very impressed with what all the organizations have done towards improving their part in economic development in this county.
All right. Anything else? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Powell.
Okay, gentlemen, in your package you have a request for request of a resolution of support to dedicate a section of Mount Harmony Church Road in Person County to commemorate the service of World War I veteran First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarber Jr. That request comes from Lieutenant Yarborough's next of kin, who is named Yarborough Sally, and that's what this particular item is about. And we have done this previously with a couple of road naming projects, and it is quite an honor to name a section of a highway in Person County for veterans past. Both of those, as well as this one, were World War I veterans, so it puts us back in some time. Yet and still, it does not eliminate the great service they rendered, and especially those giving their lives for support of freedom in this world and in this country. So what we have before you is a resolution of support to dedicate a section of Mount Harmony Church Road in Person County to commemorate the service of World War I veteran Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarber Jr. Whereas the Person County Board of Commissioners hereby acknowledge and support a request to dedicate a section of Mount Harmony Church Road in Person County to commemorate a World War I veteran, First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarber Jr. And whereas First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarber Jr. was born the 14th of October 1895 in Roxborough. His parents moved from Person County to Mullins, South Carolina in 1986. And whereas First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarber Jr. graduated from the Citadel class of 1916 and received his commission as a second lieutenant into the U.S. Marine Corps. After training at Parris Island, South Carolina, and was assigned to the Marine Barracks at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and was sent to St. Nazaire, I think, hard word, France, on July 27, 1917. He served 2 tours, first at Casino, France, between December 8, 1918 and January 4, 1918, and then at Grandcourt, France, between February 22nd and April 29th, 1918. And whereas First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarborough Jr. arrived on the front lines at the height of the Battle of Belleau Wood on the 23rd of June 1918. The next day, the enemy skillfully placed machine guns and his platoon was pinned down. First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarborough Jr. was severely wounded by enemy machine gun fire, but refused medical attention until others in his unit were treated. He died of his wounds on June 26, 1918. And whereas First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarborough Jr. was awarded posthumously the Distinguished Service Cross, the Navy Cross, the Silver Star for his bravery. Josephus Daniels, Secretary of the Navy, announced that the torpedo boat destroyer number 314 was named in honor of First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarborough Jr. in 1919, and whereas criteria for this distinguished award states, the act or acts of heroism must have been so notable and have involved risk of life so extraordinary as to set the individual apart from their comrades. Recipients of the Distinguished Service Cross are eligible to have a roadway dedicated that is 5 miles or less. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Person County Board of County Commissioners request the NC Board of Transportation's consideration to 1. Exempt the requirement to whom a road named in honor to be deceased less than 75 years, as First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarborough Jr. made the ultimate sacrifice on the battlefield, and 2. to approve a section of Mount Harmony Church Road, Service Road 1721, starting at US 158 Oxford Road and ending at Service Road 173 Allen Creek Road. The proposed section runs 5 miles. Be it further resolved that the Person County Board of Commissioners expresses willingness to pay an administrative fee of $2,000 to assist in the cost of this request. And this resolution, hopefully, will be adopted this 3rd day of December 2018.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as a fellow alumni of the Citadel, I feel it's an honor and a privilege to adopt this resolution and to approve the exemption and to approve the section of highway to be named after First Lieutenant George Hamilton Yarborough Jr.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have
assume
one
that's a
comment.
motion.
I think there's a error on that second paragraph. I think 1986 was supposed to be 1886.
Yes,
I don't
I would
think
make
he's
the
marked.
correction, it's actually supposed to be 1896.
Okay. I mean 96. I realize it was not 19.
It is.
All right, there's one other
Yeah,
one.
I made that correction.
State Road, Oxford Road, you're going down State Road 1721, ending in this, that is 17 something, 31 or 30 something. I request
Okay.
that be corrected as well. I don't know what that road number is. I don't have I do have a map, but I'm looking at the resolution.
1731, yes.
That will be, Allen Creek Road, right?
Correct.
It was 17 what?
31.
Okay. You'd make those 2 corrections.
Thank you.
I amend my motion to involve those corrections.
Okay.
And also, could you amend the motion to include the requirement for the $2,000 to be appropriated from the county's undesignated?
So amended.
All right, everybody understand the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are honored to honor him. Ms. York?
Good evening, Commissioners. I have 2 housekeeping items for you that we bring to you at every meeting in December to set for the next year. The first item is to set your schedule of meetings for the Board of County Commissioners meetings for 2019. You are required by general statutes to have 1 board meeting a month. We normally do 2. And we have laid out your conferences that we typically have members attending to ensure that there are no conflicts with those with this proposed schedule. So I'm asking you to adopt the proposed schedule of meetings for 2019 or make any amended changes that you would like.
Mr. Chairman, I have a few amended changes. First being change the July 1st meeting. I have a conflict which I will be out of town on, to change it to July 22nd. I believe that does not conflict with the NACO conference. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay. My second amendment to this schedule is to move the September 3rd date to the 9th, and the 16th of September to the 23rd. This date has 5 Mondays. This month has 5 Mondays in it. It will not conflict with having back-to-back meetings on weeks.
What was the last?
Then the 23rd of September and the 9th of September.
Where are you gonna be September 9th?
Right here.
Can we confirm what time you'd like to have the meeting in July? If it would be at 7 p.m. or 9?
I would prefer a 9 a.m. meeting. Not 9 p.m.
It's July the what now?
July the 22nd at 9 p.m. 9 a.m.
All right, we have a motion to accept the schedule as amended.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, is yours.
Your next item, Commissioners, is to adopt a budget calendar for fiscal year 1920. We try to lay out the budget process to reflect
1920?
2019 to 2020. Fiscal year 1920. Sound weird?
Yeah.
We try to lay out a budget process that will accommodate the needs and requirements of general statutes, as well as the lengthy process that staff puts in. So you'll find in the proposal a board retreat being proposed for February 4th. We don't have a location yet for that, but are working on that. We also have the presentation of the capital improvement plan, with adoption of that coming in April, the recommended budget in May, and then the required public hearing on June 3rd, and based on feedback from the board in our current fiscal year, all of the potential work sessions would then follow after that hearing, so you would not be required to make any changes until you've heard from the public on that. We're open to feedback from you all, and again, asking for adoption of the budget calendar. It is subject to change. If you all need to make changes during that process, we can certainly accommodate those.
Move to approve the budget calendar.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Reeves?
Gentlemen, voting credentials for the Legislative Goals Conference, which will be held January 10th and 11th, 2019, at the Raleigh Marriott Crabtree Valley in Wake County, is due by December 28th. I would ask the board to let me know if they'd like to attend this conference, so we can do registration, but also to submit the credentialing form to designate a commissioner that plans to attend the conference to act as the Person County's voting delegate.
Anybody plan on going?
I'm on the board of directors. I'll be there. We're here as he goes prior to it being presented.
Excuse me?
So I'll be there. I'm on the board of directors.
Can you vote on our behalf?
I can do so.
Make a motion, we designate Mr. Jeffers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. For Chairman's report, I've got some things that I would like for the county manager to investigate and come back with some whatever findings she comes up with. I would like for you to start a discussion on the landfill. Is that, we need a motion for that?
Would you like me to place that on an agenda for the board to have a discussion at the next meeting?
Well, do whatever we need to do to get the ball rolling. I think that's something we need to address right away. Something else I'd like for you to come back to the board with is some kind of idea as to what we might expect from an income standpoint if we were able to lease the fiber on the broadband. It's my understanding that we will probably have to either sell or partner with the city because they have the ability to do that where the county does not. I just want to see how we can monetize that as soon as possible. Mr. Kendrick brought up the golf course. I think he was probably talking about me. I approached the man on behalf of the EDC because I think that is a very big asset when you start trying to recruit some people. If you could get in touch with them and let's just see where that leads. I don't know if that's going to be a feasible answer or not. It may turn out to be too much investment on our part, but we at least need to know the answer. And something else that I would like to have some insight on is for us to hire a grant writer. Whether they work for us solely or work for us in the school board, in the city, whoever. I think there's some money out there we can have that we might be able to get if we just ask the question. And other than that, that's all I've got tonight. Mr. Powell, you got?
County manager.
We should do the manager next. So I'd be happy to bring these items back to the board for discussion, but it takes a majority of the commissioners to direct staff to pursue any of these routes. So we can have a follow-up conversation about if this is a board action that you'd like to take, or if you just want me to follow up on information for the board.
Why don't you just email us for consent, since it's not really something we need a actual vote on, since we're just gathering information.
Right. I wasn't clear if you wanted that
But
as a
instead of
board
waiting till our
discussion.
next meeting, I think
Okay.
an email should suffice.
I can do that. Okay. Other than that, I don't have a report.
All right. Mr. Powell, you got anything you want to add tonight?
No, not necessarily in the way of a report, but we've just restructured, and 2 years have passed by rather quickly with me on this board. But I would just simply like to say it's an honor to be on this board and represent the people of Person County for the past 2 years. Personally, it may be a personal feeling, but I think I've worked hard to do the right thing for the entire county, and that at times is very difficult, primarily because of lack of funding, but we worked through some issues there, gotten some things done, and as we go forward for the next 2 years, I will continue to serve the people of Person County with respect, dignity, and integrity, and not for self-gratification or status. So I would just like to say thank you, Person County, for supporting me.
Mr. Clayton?
I'd like to say that I think it was in 2012 and I voted for a year for vice chair of this board. He was not of the same political party that I am, and I thought he did a good job then. And we worked at a bipartisan relationship, and I think that's kind of what we've got now, and I hope we all work together. I think that's the aim of this board. Our goal should be to do what's in the best interest of Person County. And, I just want to put that out there that I want to work whatever who's on this board. Doesn't make any difference what party you are. So I hope we put that behind us and go to work.
All right, Mr. Freya.
Just want to thank the residents of this county for giving me a 4th term on this board. I will continue to work as hard as possible as I had the previous 12 years. And just to echo Mr. Powell, it's an honor to even serve on this board, and I look forward to working with everyone towards a very productive year in the 2019 going to 2020.
Mr. Jeff? I would like to add to the list of asking for consent. As I sent this board and staff an email a couple of days prior to Thanksgiving, I rode by the food bank on Hill Street, and I was astonished that there was no parking. The line was all the way to the road, and I mean the long way of the parking lot. And it just makes me, I said in the email to you all, it makes me want to do more and find out what we can do more. And so I think to start with that is to figure out what services are being offered currently in Person County. I know we have the Christian Help Center, the food bank on Hill Street. I believe it's Oak Grove, which is out by Old Mount Zion. I know they have a food bank a couple of days a week. I know some of our residents go to the food bank at Red Mountain Baptist Church right off 501, just across the line in Durham County. But if we could figure out or kind of start the conversation of what resources are available to our most needy citizens, I think that's a start to see how we can help or how we can improve some of those situations. And like Mr. Reynolds, at that time, we obviously was a Tier 1, designated as a Tier 1, and I know we, per the state's formula, no longer considered a Tier 1, but if you were ridden by that food bank that day, you can see why we were designated there in the first place. Secondly, I wanted to read a card of thank you that was sent to me from Linda Mabe, a member of the Race Unity Council, on behalf of the steering committee of brothers and sisters in conversations. I want to say thank you to you and the entire Board of County Commissioners for your support of Race Unity Week. This year's events were successful in part because of the proclamation, then because of your individual comments at the culminating event. Thanks again, Linda Mabe. And then I wanted on the record that the last time I was booed was when I called a technical foul over at Parks and Rec at Sandsbury on one at the Church League ball game. So I want you to think that's a reoccurring event.
All right. I need a motion to go into closed session per General Statute 143-318 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer, employee of prospective public officer, or employee according to General Statute 153-92. This is to include County Manager Heidi York, Brenda Reed, Clerk of the Board, and Sheriff Dewey Jones. Do I have a motion?
I also have Angie Warren, the Human Resources Director, to be included.
So moved.
All in favor? All right. We are now in closed session. Thank everybody for coming.
What did we get, Heidi?
Look forward to